This is brought to you by the Kansas City Business Association.
What's up, Kansas City? I'm your host, Glenn Bryan Frizzell. Today we are filming an historic Lincoln building right here in the 18th and Vine District. Today's special guest is the city manager of Kansas City, Mr. Troy Schulte. We'd like to welcome you to What's Up, Kansas City, sir.
It's a pleasure to be here. Looking forward to it.
Let's start with current news. Today, former mayor of New York, Michael Bloomberg, announced an initiative to make Kansas City government more effective. This was in today's Kansas City Star, written by Mike Hendricks. Policy experts from Harvard University, Johns Hopkins University, and John F. Kennedy are going to, help us meet performance measures in City Hall. What are your thoughts about this announcement?
I think it's a great opportunity. What it does is allow us to compare what we're doing in Kansas City with best practices not only nationally but internationally. So having Bloomberg Philanthropies and Johns Hopkins University come in and say, you can tweak this service to look at our performance measures data, look at how we compare with service delivery, and say Baltimore or San Francisco or New York City or London or Barcelona, Spain, I think will help improve service delivery across the organization and give something back to the residents that they can say, this is how we compare. When people say, well, our services are different, well, we can say, now compared to New York City or compared to whatever the group that they come up with, we're providing the same level or even better level of services. So I think it's a great opportunity for us to showcase what we're doing in Kansas City.
To showcase. And Kansas City has made national news recently regarding minimum wage debate. It's kind of business owners versus leading clergy and frustrated workers. Where do you see this debate going?
Unfortunately, I see this headed towards litigation. You've got disparate groups. You've got the clergy and some of the social equity folks who are pushing the $15 an hour minimum wage concept. You've got some in the business community, primarily in the restaurant or hotelier, hospitality industry, opposing it. We have not, as a city, I know the mayor has been leading those efforts, trying to find common ground. We recently passed an ordinance that set a rate of about by 2021 of $13 an hour.
And people are saying that's not enough.
Right, and so it sounds like we're going to have to kind of litigate this. There's another group of people that are saying, regardless of whether you're a business or a community supporter, the city's preempted entirely because state law prohibits us. So it's unfortunately going to be headed to litigation. It'll probably be a while before we can get a minimum wage implemented because there's just doesn't seem to be ability to find common ground, and that's what we really need to do is to move the city forward, find an area of compromise, and at this point we're not there yet.
Help our viewers find common ground in terms of public investment and tax dollars for these projects, airport terminal, streetcar, and downtown convention hotel projects. How do we fit in? And when I say we, how does the urban community fit in with these projects?
Well, how
does it benefit us?
Sure. In the case of, I'll just kind of walk through systematically. In the case of the airport, if we are either going to do a renovation or a new terminal at some point in a time, that will be about a $1 billion spend, whether it's a terminal improvement or a terminal renovation. That's a whole lot of jobs.
Say I don't travel, will that still come out of my paycheck?
No, actually it won't, because the way that works is way the airport works. Unless you are a user of the airport, you won't pay for the services. So, and it's restricted by federal law. So we can't take money out of the airport and fix potholes at, say, 25th and Agnes. But we can only use the airport dollars that are generated on the airport
Thank you for
So, and I think that's an important distinction. This is a way for us to put a lot of people to work, good wages in the construction industry. MBE, WBE, prevailing wage requirements would all apply for a $1 billion project, so it would be a way to put a lot of money into the construction sector of the city that otherwise wouldn't have access to those dollars because it's a closed loop on those systems.
And Mr. Schulte, you're going to advertise through Urban League and through the Kansas City Business Association?
Yeah, what we would do is run our network, try to get folks who are already on our, I would encourage folks that are interested, get registered with our Human Relations Department on the 4th floor of City Hall, so that they're on the list. We have done exceptional work in terms of providing participation, our participation, MBE, and Section 3 participation on our East Patrol Crime Lab project at 27th and Prospect. It was about 50% of the total project was turned over towards MBE, and Section 3 projects. So that's a model that we think we can replicate when we do an airport, whether it's a renovation or a terminal. So that's a big project in terms of putting people to work in the city. The streetcar project's another one that's put a lot of people to work, but it's also a kind of how do we provide a modern, diverse transportation system so that you've got all kinds of transportation choices. So we'll eventually link the bus systems into it and all those issues. And the advantage about the streetcar system is it's, again, only the people that are along the streetcar route or the property owners adjacent to it are paying for it. So a resident of the 3rd District right now doesn't pay for it unless they shop in that area or they own property in that. So it's a fairly contained issue.
Now, Mr. Schulte, I know we don't have that much time.
Sure.
I want to ask you about the convention project. What conventions are going to come if we build the hotel?
Well, one of the issues that we've had is some conversations with, I know the mayor has gone to a number of groups about trying to get additional conventions. One of the groups that he's spoken to is the African American Engineers Group.
Really?
That wanted to come to Kansas City.
Wasn't aware of
It's a national association, wanted to come to, but there wasn't enough space in close proximity, so they ended up picking another city. So that's one of the advantages of a convention center hotel is it brings in what we like to call other people's money into the city. So that's putting people to work. There will not only be jobs in the construction, but there'll be jobs in the operations of the hotel once it's constructed. But most importantly, you know, one of the issues that we have with the convention business is when they come into Kansas City, they want to see what's in Kansas City, and we're trying to figure out a way, can we connect them to 18th and Vine and do some of those issues where they can see the heritage of the city. And again, those are dollars that otherwise wouldn't come to the city, and that's why the convention, that business travel experience is important for the city as a whole, because it's bringing new money into the city.
Let's talk about 18th and Vine. Increasingly, at least twice in the last year, there have been articles in the newspaper, Kansas City Star for one, talking about the frustration, the slow growth in the area, the amount of businesses. Why isn't this taking off like the Mecca in Harlem and Los Angeles and Atlanta and other places? Where do you see 18th and Vine moving forward in terms of development in our tax dollars in the next year or so?
Well, I'm very bullish on 18th and Vine. I've been a little bit frustrated with those perceived negative articles. There's a lot of good stuff. We've got Ollie Gates is in the process of building housing at 19th and Vine. We're building $500,000 homes in Beacon Hill, east of Truce. That's a revival. Those folks will shop and use 18th and Vine as their. So I think there's a lot of opportunities.
Do we need more businesses?
I think we need more businesses, but we've got to get people around it. So it's a old theory in real estate that retail follows rooftops. We need more rooftops. So that focused on housing. We're in the process of moving the assets to the city, so we're in a position to say the attics, the old attic school, trying to figure out a developer that can come in and do that. We get an interesting market in 18th and Vine. That's something the city is in. Is we're 18th and Vine, the Mutual Musicians Foundation, is actually a hub for international jazz community.
Yes.
And there's actually enough visitors to the 18th and Vine, whether it be the Blue Room or the Mutual Musicians Foundation, to probably support a boutique hotel. And that's been the conversation about, is it possible to convert the attic school into a boutique hotel and then generate, again, that's other people's money coming into the city to support the restaurants and those types of issues. So there's a lot of good things going on. It just hasn't come out, but the city's in the process of acquiring the Black Chamber of Commerce building there. It's at the corner of 18th and Paseo. We're going to clean that out, and so we're trying to create that view shed. So people just need to stay tuned. There's been a lot of pent-up demand, and we think now with the revitalization in downtown, it's the right time for 18th and Vine to come.
And appreciate it. I mean, you see the marketability of jazz music and blues with the Bessie Smith miniseries that was on HBO, and is subsequently getting nominated for Emmys coming up. So I mean, it is marketable, not just television, but live music.
It's now the right time for us to be celebrating that heritage, and that's why the tie into the convention center, tie into the crossroads. There's a lot of great things happening right along this corridor, that 18th Street corridor. So it's just a matter of just keeping that momentum going.
Swearing in of the new city council, real quickly, what are your hopes? Do you face any challenges for the current session? Are you happy with the voter turnout? The polls reported it was pretty low.
I'm disappointed in the voter turnout. We had hoped that by moving the election dates into the spring and summer, we would increase voter turnout away from the winter. That didn't happen. So we've got to figure out a way to drive that conversation going forward. But at the same time, I think we've got a very good group of people that are coming in. I'm looking forward to working with them. I think the city as a whole is on the roll. I think there's great things going on the east side, in particular. That our progress on Prospect Initiative with the crime lab, with the new Family Life Center. We're at a new grocery store at Linwood and Prospect. A new grocery store already opened at 39th and Prospect. There's a lot of energy going on in our neighborhoods, and we just need to keep that momentum going. I think the new city council will be just as supportive as the old city, and there's always opportunities to do more.
And Mr. Schulte, you reach out regularly. You are a Twitter. In fact, you were rated, I believe, number 8 among city managers by ClearPoint Strategies as top city manager with a Twitter presence. You were rated number 7. And as recently as yesterday, you were talking about animal health and public safety, inviting your Twitter constituency to weigh in on that, and streetcar construction. Do you ever feel that you're too much connected to the digital community?
I think so. And one of the issues that we struggle with in the city is, from a communication standpoint, is how do we connect with everybody? We've got to have a group of our a younger generation. That's the first thing that we've got young folks now that are more interested in making sure they have the latest model of a cell phone than they are and interested in driving a car. That's a huge change that we're seeing demographically. So how do we connect with those? How do we connect with maybe our older population that isn't familiar, is very effective with the digital divide? And how does the city use its efforts to close that gap? So, we partner with the Housing Authority on this program to bring internet access to Housing Authority projects. How do we bring Google Fiber in? How do we do? One of the things we're working on is create a Wi-Fi network around 18th and Vine, a free Wi-Fi network around 18th and Vine, again, to try to bridge that digital divide, because that's kind of where we think the future's going. And we just got to figure out to make sure that we move all 500,000 of our residents. But in the meantime, we're not going to abandon the old-fashioned approaches of going out and coming to a public meeting or sending a Saturday morning. And I'm always happy to do that. So we can talk on Twitter. It's easy. It's convenient. But we can also go back to more traditional means of talking to folks if that's the best way to get the information shared.
Now, Mr. Schulte, you are from Iowa. You've been with Kansas City since 1998. You were named budget officer in 2003. How important is it to have a good budget with this new session of City Council being sworn in?
It's fundamental. Without a good financial foundation, you can't accomplish anything else. So we've got to have the ability to say, when we make a promise, we can deliver on it. When we issue bonds or do those types of issues, the taxpayers and the residents of the city got to know that their money's being well managed, that the services are being provided effectively and efficiently and at the lowest cost possible. And so that's all that comes out of that budget process. And that's why it's important as part of that budget process that we take public input. One of the things I'm particularly proud of was the last council got a 5-year financial plan built into the city charter that requires us to lay out a 5-year financial plan for the city and adopt it and amend it every year. And that's important from the city, because then we can tell where we're going to go, what we're going to need in terms of resources, and how's the best way to achieve those results. So when we make a promise to a resident, when we make a promise to a neighborhood, we're able to deliver. If we don't have that financial foundation, then all we're doing is making promises without the ability to deliver. And if we're going to be serious about driving citizen satisfaction, getting reinvestment back in not only the core but citywide, we've got the business community, the private sector, neighborhoods, individual property tax owners have got to realize the city's going to deliver what it says it's going to do.
And a new presence in this building, we have the Kansas City Business Association. We represent small businesses in our community. How do we make money as a small minority business?
Well, I think the big issue is to get the word out, to spread the market word. Obviously, I encourage
And I
all.
say small, but you're only limited by your thinking.
Right, and that's the issue: is to dream big, go out, and not be afraid to knock on doors, get the word out. There's some great ideas coming out of here. We have called an urban enterprise, a scholarship program where we work with the Kauffman Foundation, and the city will actually pay scholarships to go through the Kauffman Fast Track if it's an entrepreneurial issue, and it's only the area is defined as only the urban core can participate in that function. So there's a lot of good things going on.
Go down to City Hall. And
Yeah, you just go down to City Hall and through our Casey Biz Care office, so you don't even actually have to go into City Hall. You just go across the street from City Hall, and we'll connect you with the folks at the Kauffman Foundation, Casey SourceLink. Go into City Hall, get registered, certified as in our Human Relations Department. That gets you on the city's vendor list. We're trying to do more and more of the city's expenditure, trying to make sure that we spend as much of that money locally. And there's a lot of money being spent right now, whether it be talking about a conversation about the airport, conversation about the streetcar, but we're doing a $4.5 billion reconstruction of our sewer program over the next 20 years. We're doing $250 million of construction next year just on our water and sewer infrastructure alone. So there's a lot of opportunity for people to go to work, start their own firms, potentially get jobs with the city, but also get jobs elsewhere with a lot of the other companies in the city and in the region. So the first step to do is just express an interest, go out. If you got a good idea, let's figure out a way to make it happen.
And we know that part of staying busy and having your own business and working reduce crime numbers that way. What can you say about Kansas City's crime rate? Are you satisfied, dissatisfied with the progress, progress we've made in the last
We have made good progress. We've got a lot more work to do, but we're, I think, turning the right track. And one of the things that has always been, there's a perception issue out there, and that it's especially when you're east of truth, that it's not safe, and that is further from the truth. You couldn't be further from the truth by saying it's dangerous to go east of Truth Avenue. We've got some bad apples, and the bad apples are on east of Truth, but they're also west of Truth, and they're north of the river. It's our job to go after and get those bad apples, but the vast majority of our folks are just wanting to go about their lives as safely and as unharassed as possible, and it's our job as a city to make sure that happens. So there's some great environments in the urban core regardless, and we've just got to make sure that we keep working on getting the bad apples out and keep rebuilding the neighborhoods. So, and it's a partnership. The city can't do it alone, neighborhoods can't do it alone, individuals can't do it alone, but collectively we can.
I believe we have maybe 3 more minutes. I want to ask you, I'm just going to read this and you give me your comment. Forbes lists us as number 61, Forbes list. It's Kansas City is number 61 for best places for businesses and careers. Denver, Colorado's pretty high up there. Colorado's number 1 in education. What would you say number 61 in terms of cost of doing business, job growth, education, that median number? What does that say in attracting and keeping youth in our city?
Well, I think the biggest issue that we have got to do is change the perception that you cannot get a quality education in the urban core of the city. Kansas City has 15 school districts. 2 of them are troubled, and one of them is really making, well, both of them are really making good progress, but one of them is making exceptional progress, and that's obviously our namesake school district. But if we again change the perception,
Are you putting Hickman in there?
yeah, Hickman and Kansas City schools have been historically the ones that have been either provisionally accredited or unaccredited, but they're both making progress. And we have some exceptional school districts. We've got some exceptional charter schools. We also, another strength that we've got is we've got the best, we've got one of the top 50 schools high schools in the country, in Lincoln Prep, which sits right down the street from where we're at today. We've got to celebrate that. We've got to use that as an anchor to build around. So I think that number can go up, but it's going to take a sustained effort and everybody pulling in the direction. And then not believe in the old stereotypes or the old perceptions that you can't get a good education in the Kansas City School District, or you can't get a good education in the Hickman Mills School District. Cerner is making a $4 billion investment in the Hickman Mills School District. So if it was that big of an impediment, they wouldn't have been making that investment. So those are the types of issues we've got to work hard in partnership, but we can change it, and school district come a long way. and it's just like everything. We've got to just keep the eye on the ball and keep moving the ball down the field, but we'll get there, and it just takes everybody working together.
Mr. Schulte is budgeting, accounting in the billions now. Sky's the limit. Aim high. Shoot for the moon. If you miss, at the very least, you would have landed among the stars. Take care until next time.
I'm IFBB Bikini Pro Cat Williams, and when I'm not working out in the gym, I'm searching the web on Cascade Media and What's Up Kansas City. So make sure you check them out.